Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. My name is Brad, and this little video here, me riding my motorcycle through some pretty awesome scenery. I'm going to talk about some things I've learned over the years. Maybe took me a little while longer than most to learn them. That's why I want to get it out there. Maybe some other people can learn along with me or share some similar experiences and stories. I'm going to talk about today is responding versus reacting. Go to a little bit of definitions, share some background and some stories on how I learned the difference. So, responding versus reacting. What's a response versus what's a reaction? So, simple analogy is a reaction would be something you do without thinking, just instantly happens. Like if a kid spills grape juice on a nice light colored carpet and you just go from 0 to 100 without thinking about it and start screaming and yelling from the kid, even though half a second ago you were calm as a cucumber. A response would be that same situation, except instead of getting real angry and mad right away, maybe you give it a couple of seconds to think and realize some context. Maybe it wasn't the kid's fault at all. Maybe it was your fault for putting that grape juice there. Who knows? Maybe the carpet's getting replaced in a week anyway. Or you have some stain remover that can remove that stain. So instead of screaming at the kid over something that's pretty trivial, maybe it's really not that big of a deal. So a little background on me. I've been doing this thing called EOD for a couple of years in the military, explosive ordnance disposal. Quick summary, we deal with weapons and munition systems that are in dead-fired or other hazardous conditions. We make them safe to either destroy or move to a safer place to destroy. And our primary goal is keeping everyone from getting hurt and also trying to not damage property if we can help it. So I did a couple of tours to Iraq and Afghanistan a few years ago now. On one such tour, we were set up at this thing called a patrol base. A bunch of trucks circled up out in the desert while an infantry unit swept and cleared a local village. They would call us forward whenever they found UXOs or IEDs, and we'd come clear them so they could continue their operations. And also in an effort to help protect the locals, of course. So one night around 11:30, we get a call for an IED in the village, and we drive our truck out as far as we can, and then we have to dismount, load up some packs, and walk in the rest of the way about 3 kilometers. It's, like I said, late at night and dark. This is a pretty dangerous area, so we're not using any light, keeping all communications to a minimum and as low volume as possible, and using NVGs for being able to see where the heck we're going, where we're putting our feet. So we go walking in, and it's a little hairy walking in there, but nothing really happens of any consequence. Certainly, makes you pay attention to every single step you take, all the little details, every sound, all that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty tense situation just getting there. We get to where we're going. We talk to the Army unit that's on the ground holding security, and they tell us the village elder had told them while they were clearing through the village that there were some IEDs by this creek. One of his kids getting hurt by them. So he went over and he drew circles around them with his finger in the dirt, put an X on top of it to mark them, and then came and found the Americans when they were coming through. So we send the robot down, We find the first one, put a couple of blocks of explosives on it, detonate it, and sure enough, there's absolutely an IED there. It was a much larger explosion than the couple blocks of C4 that we had. We bring the robot back up, get more explosives, go down and find the rest. When the robot driver gets the robot down there, sets the charge down, goes looking for the others, and he winds up accidentally sliding into the creek with the robot, which, it happens. So, myself and a teammate head down range. The teammate's going to be the one who's going to go recover the robot from the creek, and I was going to stay about 50, 60 feet back and pull down range security for him, since this is a pretty risky, dangerous area. We get down to where the IEDs are, and he goes to start recovering the robot. I'm looking through my NVGs, just kind of scanning the area, making sure there's nothing else in there that's going to present us some risk. Maybe some bad guys the Army guys didn't catch, maybe another IED they didn't see, something like that. And that's when I see a head pop around a corner. I'm looking through my NVGs. It looks like the face is pretty dark. So I pull up my rifle, look through my scope. It's got a couple times magnification, so I figure maybe that'll help me get a better picture of what's going on. And then I can see the dark spot is a big bushy beard, which none of our guys had a big bushy beard. So immediately figured this might be a threat. My thumb starts to apply pressure to the fire selector switch on my M4. And I'm staring through my scope more at this guy's face, waiting for him to present a weapon, hoping he doesn't. But I've got my crosshair right on his head just in case he does. Just about the time team leader gets the robot up out of the creek and back into a good position, starts coming back towards me, I noticed this guy had an ACU print body armor vest on. And I immediately realized this was the interpreter for our supported unit, who was just being a little nosy and curious at the very, very worst time. So, naturally, let up the pressure on the fire selector, lowered my weapon and kept watching just to make sure what I had seen was what I had seen. We get back up range. I tell the infantry unit that they may want to pull their turret back because I just about shot him in the face. So that was an instance where very high risk situation. Stress was a little high. Tension was high. Could have been very easy to react. And every single day since, I'm so grateful that I didn't. I'm so grateful I responded instead of reacted. Otherwise, I would have shot someone in the face. I was an innocent man. The only thing he would have been guilty of is just being a little curious. Can't say what I attribute that to the most. I guess the main thing would be the fact that in EOD, it pays to respond versus react more times than not, because not taking things into context can make you select the wrong course of action that could have some pretty significant consequences, especially negative ones. So, in summary, response versus reaction. This can absolutely help you as a leader and as a follower. Now, if you're a follower, leaders make decisions you don't necessarily agree with or might initially upset you. Try to take a second. Consider the context. Try to consider things from another perspective, instead of just immediately reacting and getting mad about it or making other poor decisions in relation to that. As a leader, remember how your actions come across and how they could be received, especially if people respond instead of react. And then at the same time, when your teammates react instead of respond, try not to do the same thing. Try to understand their perspective and their situation as well, and everything that goes into their decision making. More often than not, responding is the better option. If you're in a high risk with no time situation, reacting might be your only option, and that's okay. And sometimes you don't even realize that until after the fact, that you maybe had the time to respond. Either way, whatever you do in life, always try to consider the context and all the other things that go into the situation when you can. Don't beat yourself up too bad if you maybe respond when you should have reacted, or react when you should have responded, whichever it may be.